In summarized form, here are some guidelines to social considerations in curriculum development. There are basic agencies in society that demand from educational curriculums some special skills, attitudes, and knowledge. They are the family, the church, the state, economic agencies, non-commercial community, and other social agencies. School curriculum developers must take into consideration not only national and international needs, but also local, regional, and provincial needs. In the efforts of curriculum developers to gear the curriculum toward the establishment of a sense of identity among people in the country, cultural pluralism should be respected, thus taking into consideration the rich cultural heritage of all people, including the minorities. Curriculum development must draw upon analysis of society and culture, of tradition and heritage, social pressures, and established social habits. We must ask what the demands and requirements of culture and society are, both for the present and for the future. The curriculum must prepare the learners to participate as productive members of our culture. Not all cultures require the same kind of knowledge, nor does the same culture needs the same kinds of capacities and skills, intellectual or otherwise, at all times. An analysis of culture and society thus provides some guide for determining the main objectives of the curriculum, for the selection of content, and for deciding what the stress in learning activities. Diagnosing of the gaps, deficiencies, and variations of the backgrounds of development is an important step in determining what the curriculum should be. The task of selecting and organizing learning experiences in curriculum development must take into consideration the culture of society. Society's concept of the functions of the school determines to a great extent what kind of curriculums schools will have. Current conceptions of the functions of the school by society are as follows. Education preserves and transmits the cultural heritage. Since all cultural traditions have roots, cultural continuity is possible only if education preserves this heritage by passing on the truths worked out in the past to the new generation, thus developing a common cultural background and loyalties. In the main, the transmission of the accumulated wisdom of the race and of basic truths and value is emphasized. Education is an instrument for transforming culture. Education can and does play a creative role in modifying and even reshaping the culture in which it functions. Education and public policy are intimately related, and progress in one is limited without progress in the other. They maintain that education must deal with the needs of current culture and even help shape the future. Education results in individual development. Some progressive educators emphasize the creative role of education in society by stressing the development of a creative individual. This point of view centers educational effort on the development of all the powers of the individual, especially his creative imagination, his physical and emotional powers. To establish what demand society makes on education and what contribution education can or should make to culture, especially in a complex and changing society, is not an easy task. Thus, a continuous examination of the goals and demands of this changing society and the forces operating in it is in order to keep the curriculum reality-oriented. To determine what knowledge is most worthwhile, which skills must be mastered, which values are relevant. In order to develop an adequate curriculum, a sustained study of the culture in which education functions, and a sustained effort to mobilize the resources of the social sciences such as biology, anthropology, sociology, and social psychology, and to translate whatever is learned about society or culture into educational policy are needed. The best thinking of our generation in determining what society is in need and which of those needs education can serve must be enlisted. One way of gaining social perspective in curriculum development is by analyzing the impact of technology and the changes it has produced or is producing in society. Expansion of technology has brought vast changes in what modern man is required to do. The extension of transportation and communication now requires man to take into account a physical environment which includes the whole earth and perhaps outer space. Many sources attest to the disorganizing effects of technology on man and his values and institutions. It has produced a dangerous confusion of values and beliefs. How one views the role of education in a technological society of the near future depends on how deeply curriculum developers have contemplated the nature of the pending changes. There are new conditions which set new tasks for curriculum developers. 1. A tremendous enlargement of the environment to be understood and the culture to be transmitted. 2. An ever-increasing demand for increasingly skilled and literate workers. 3. The necessity for the establishment of intercultural communication among the diverse cultures as a basis for building a world and national community. 4. The difficulties involved in sustaining wide latitudes of free individual choice in a world of magnified power and shrunken space and time. 5. A constantly accelerating rate of change which makes forecasting hazardous and outspeeds of the effort of education to draw abreast of needs. In summary, many forces today influence society. Its social institution, including educational system, affects and is affected by other facets of society. Social customs and aims in cultural, political, and economic matters also shape school curriculum. Each of society's institutions is accorded important functions to perform in relation to the system as a whole and to its various parts. Decisions of governmental agencies, for example, affect the school and home, and operations of these two institutions in turn affect governmental practice. And these are the sociological dimensions of cultural development. Thank you.